Okay. I don't know how many times I have to say this. This is the face of a girl who has had her original intelligence smashed on the coastlines. July 20, 21st century, 221. Right. Back to the Independence Day. Guy's born in 1976. The birthday, July 20. Now, the reason I was born on that day was because the girl who was on the coastlines had her head smashed in. So the intelligence communities brought back the dead baby with the nails, so you could feel good about massacring what you massacred the poppy fields, as Tiziano Vian would say at La Sapienza when I was 5 years old. The old news on the news, the nails around the world were wise to globals. You called me a terrorist, good, whatever. And tanto it's better to be a terrorist than to be the Mossad. And I'm not Jewish. So don't keep offending me. You know, insult after injury, after you smashed my head in and I came back like this, stop insulting me. And stop sending me your psychos. If somebody is famous for something and gets killed, becomes cause célèbre, literally, and being known for having her head smashed in on the coastlines and comes back in a blimp and dime in history, that's what the Delft number Holland was. Wormhole to worm and the proverbial smashed head on the coastlines. You're terrorists to me. Now, in Italy, you can have the Vatican, you can have the Opus Dei, you can have German aerospace with Basler naming his niece Jamila, you can have Martin Snowden and the London. The corporations, Benjamin Ovori on the 5th floor did cancer. He was the director of Scotland and Canada for cancer. But he said that's the pink shit. In Poland, pink shit. Algeria, pink shit. Tunisia, pink shit. New York, pink shit. That's why the cancer is empty. The buildings. The brother of the mother did sciences at Warsaw University. He's 96 or 98. He said go to Moscow, that's your mayor. Poland is cheap ass. So Congo is going to be always cheap ass with the internationals because it's cancer. Poland is cancer. We did biochems. Your space didn't come from Poland, it came from Russia. Your dad, your ghost child. Where the all news on the news, the nails in 80 countries and 25 states. The same with Algeria or Tunisia. And Cairo, for instance, Dar es Salaam neighborhood, but there's other neighborhoods. Go to Saudi Mir. Because the cousin of the father did sciences at Cairo University. Yeah, your Mir is Saudi. Okay, now, considering that this is old news on the news and I'm dead, considering that I'm not that girl, I'm going to have to admit it, okay? Now, holding on is holding on. Crab to crabby after the coastlines. But I can tell you this. There are Ubermensch after Jamila. His head was smashed on the coastlines. They're not Jason Bournes. They're not James Bournes. Bournes. You may think I was, but no. The guys that were created within Western Europe. So when the Germans say, Basler, a product of stupid times, after, in Greenwich Mean Time, stupid times, the schools at the age of 15 for free. I'm sorry, this is all news on the news, the nails around the world connected us with West to globals. And even the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods on the planet know about the nails and the boys. That's after you smashed my head in on the coastlines, and I'm not giving more answers to that. So, you are going to now, that's the mentally retarded part. There goes Flatfoot. The part that's mentally retarded about the US is this. If the space is empty and the tech is empty and the cancer is empty because a phenomenal July 20, 1976 born baby, wait a second, had her head smashed in, the leader of the Flyers and the Runners, had her head smashed in where she used to work on the coastlines, you have a problem in the US. So the cause célèbre of German aerospace, or even Tierhoff and the Nazi skins are fucked Americans, the Nazis. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not Nazi skins, they're out there. Actually, I have to get out of there. So, these are old examples. The nails, is old news on the news around the capital cities. You won't change it. So your PhDs, you can shove up your ass as far as possible. Abusing me, the baby replacement, is going to get you absolutely nowhere, California. Zero. They have The Hague, the Bureau de Veritas, the Roman Tribunal, which you find funny and pink. Well, the Roman Tribunal is the German tribunal. It's the German Bundestag. That's for your extras. So your Ukrainians or whoever you got from your federal prisons that you stuck here in Frisco can have their fun. They won't. They're not so stupid. They knew that that girl was going to be attacked, but by who? You see, this is where you have to start thinking, not me. I already know who's attacking me. You, the people. You're not the intel communities. You're not the intel communities of the coastlines after the girl had her head smashed in. Those guys are paying with the shit because they had the intel long ago from me, and then eventually it died on US soil, on your coastlines. And I came out as a phoenix. You cannot invent US the shit in California. You have to live with the losses. The losses were big. And so if I say to you that the Vatican and the Opus Dei said that there was a proverbial loss that went south, that we blessed, but the US is Satan on the coastlines, you're going to say, oh, we're bad, because you're mentally retarded. You are bad, but you're also mentally retarded. Like 5-year-old kids. So now I can go on Facebook. Now, after all the abuse, after having had my head smashed in on the coastlines, on the side of my, I could show to you who you are, multitasking and everything else, and whatever I was out doing on the coastlines. And I could tell you that the reason you hate me, because I'm not that girl. I'm just going to have to admit it. You could say that Ubermensch, in fact, they proved in the 50s that Ubermensch can never be the original. They can never be the original. Now, it depends also how you kill the original. If the original had her head smashed in on the coastlines, we call that historic. Fight to the one, Holland. In other words, this is old news on the news denials. So the reason they put me in the house, to live in the house, is not just the pain for the parents or connected those who was the robots. I am their child. I'm a particular corn cob in pink. I started out probably not in pink, on asswipe. I was crab to crabby. But they couldn't look at the pain anymore. They couldn't look at the stand-in child after you smashed my head in on the coastlines. So for the intel communities in Western Europe, that was a big feat, that girl. But you lost it on the coastlines. The other thing about Jamila, the original, was that she was never alone. Meaning, there was Martin Snowden, there was La Sapienza in Italy, there was the UN, there was the Germans with blonde hairs, there was the Russians, my original blood, the Saudis, my original blood, the Arabs, you know. That shit ain't playing around in the UN, in Rome. So if that's with the corporations, for instance, if that's what that girl was, July 20, 1976, and I am this, you already know why you're abusing this one. So when they say that America is terrorist or that America is Sadhana, when they sent me out there, the ghost child, the India's child, they knew who you were. And they were saying they'll try to hurt the baby. So they had the useless triads, the Viet Cong who don't have a high school education but are very good at shootouts, farmers in Fresno. I dated them, the old one for... He has 8 twins, but I only stayed with the old one when I was 22, 23, actually. Not for half a year on asswipe, but for 6 years. Because after all, it's Fresno. And Fresno is famous. The intelligence of Fresno is famous around the world for being the intelligence of Fresno. So he was good as a shooter, okay, to protect my baby ass. Kindly didn't kill the baby. Because to them, and I don't mind. Because I'll explain to you, this has nothing to do with sacrifice. This has to sue your government trillions of dollars. And I will sue your government trillions of dollars for this. And more. July 20, 1976, 200 years. 21st century. On the coastlines, we have the Hague of Dirk-Jan van Dam. We have the Bureau de Veritas. And we have the Roman or German Bundestag Tribunal for your extras, which are your psychos, which your college frat kids or your girlfriends and stuff. My existence is non-consequential to the impact of Intel in the world because that girl already had her head smashed in. The losses, or the proverbial Vatican prophecy that they were speaking about the wormhole to the worm, the Oriental Russian, the Oriental Saudi Arab Turk, the German, the Brit, the Italian Rome, the Opus Dei, that's already gone. The ship with that girl has gone. Gone with the corporations. Gone. No, because if Pfizer and Johnson had platinum hairs with me at the age of 5 or 15 in London, in the basements, who the fuck are you? That was the pink of Jamila. Jamila wasn't famous for cancer. Jamila was famous for the grey. And that's what they were saying. The grey of Jamila was July 21st. The cancer, they stuck in to say that it was something good. Now, if she had all those corporations in the UN and in Western Europe, and you smashed my head in on those lines, and I'm the relic, forget me not, the puppy on the ghost line, in other words, the fairy tale of Jamila. You won't be sitting there and speaking to me about your microchips, your fucking tits and ass, your PhDs, ain't gonna change shit on the ghost line. Call me again Bin Laden. It's a compliment, I guess. At least I'm not the Mossad. I'm not a Jew. I'm the opposite of a Jew. Entermensch. I'm Ubermensch. After my head was smashed in, according to the Vatican. You then? Shut up with Palestine and Terra Promessa. Shithead. You're even denying the existence of the original Jamila. You filth. If Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turk, Russia, Italy, Western Europe, England, the UN, and even Germany, Aerospace is speaking about that baby. Why? July 2021? Why would I be back in a blip of time? To America. Do you know why there was a ship on the Ghost Lines that became a yacht? Probably because they got the intel before and then they lost it. Stupid bitches. I am not that girl. I am the poor girl that you wanted to hate after you smashed that girl's head in. University of Warsaw, Berlin, maybe even Berlin would notice. La Sapienza, where I was. Woolwich's, Martin Snowden, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Cairo. Those universities are empty. But they are empty, yes, Woolwich's. The corporations that work in those universities have platinum hairs with me. I'm the only person in all those buildings that has the platinum hairs at the age of 5 with those professors in the basements. Why? Because I did something historic, bitch, and you killed me on the coastlines. And I am a particular corn cob back to let you know the forget-me-not of what happened on the coastlines. You're going to pay. You're going to keep paying for this shit. And the fact that they said for others and others sounds to me like a fatwa on the coastlines. The British, with Grabsky, that you paid money for some psycho from Ukraine. He's not Polish, okay? And even if he's Polish, he's more in Ukraine. That's all Ukraine. That guy was in London. He was a stalker. I couldn't take it anymore. Heine, for instance, was Hell's Angel. He shouldn't be my husband. Husband for sure not. Boyfriend for sure not. I don't have any husbands. You want me to marry an American. Last time I married an American, that was George O'Connor, who was killed. You want another death? Entire families? A tsunami? You're not going to get married to me. I'm 50 years old. They're going to kill you before you even get a boyfriend to me. They hate you, America. They hate you for smashing that girl's head in on the coastlines and being so lazy inside that you cannot reopen my buildings. And then going to this and saying to her for the forget-me-not after her head was smashed in on the coastline, I'm better than you, look at me tits! That's what you are, America. Retarded. That's why they sent the baby out there. It was historic. The German police beat the shit out of Grabsky. The British followed him in the car with guns. He suicided 25 times in front of Greenwich Mean Time. Stupid times. They beat him up several times. A car hit him in front of the university and almost killed him. That's your Grabsky. That's your Ukrainian that you paid abroad. In London, in Germany, in Poland, in Russia, and in Italy, they called the Ukrainians cheap whores to my face. And it wasn't even the St. Peter's priests at the hospital, no. It was the Italian men and nurses. When I said to them, give me Valium, they laughed. They said, do you really think that after all that abuse of the baby, we're going to be giving you Valium? No. We're going to be bombing Fresno. We're going to be bombing Frisco. We're going to be putting people back to federal prison. We're going to be suing them. We're going to be taking what happened on the coastlines and all that void of that girl, July 20, 1976, of the 21st century, that they denied because they can smash a girl's head in on the coastlines, put in a little baby innocent, forget-me-not, and hate her, because that's what America is. That's what came out of St. Peter's. That's what came out of the UN. That's what came out of the German aerospace. That's what came out of Woolwich and Martin Snowden and the others. Oh, they're not the Jews! It's an ass! You're assholes and bitches. And that's the least I can call you. Especially if you're speaking about the dead one, because you're retards. It's like going on Facebook and speaking to a 5-year-old. You go on Facebook and you speak to a 5-year-old and you say to them, hey, there was a massacre of red puppies on the coastlines and these assholes don't want to admit it. And you had the forget-me-not of that shit. That shit was a beautiful shit, including some cheap-ass cancer. Pig. Now, let's say that the ship got pissed off and the plan has just took more and more. In Italy, in Germany, in England, in Russia, Saudi Arabia, in the UN. Out of my hand. You knew that there was a ship. You knew that that's the yacht. You knew that the leader who had that in her head was smashed. You know that red poppy fields? Yeah, no, mine. Tiziano Bianchi. You know about La Sapienza University. You know about Woolwich. You know about the cancer in Poland and New York, and they're saying it's Russia, Saudi Arabia's. La Sapienza and Woolwich. You have the Germans saying to you that you are bitches. You have German aerospace naming their nieces Jamila for obituary, and you get jealous of the girl who was flying and running, who had at the end her head smashed in on the coastlines that many times around the world. And she was working on the coastlines where that happened, multitasking for the barons against Fresno, with the hanging benches of Laura Quintus in D.C., Langley, and Ali Direct in Brussels, the highest Supreme Courts defending both barons, and your cheap-ass ass in Fresno and Frisco, following my ass. U.S., I'm really sorry, but you really lost every motherfucking marble on the planet and beyond that many times. And you lost that shit on the coastlines. Because I know I was the best. I know I was one of the best in the world with that. I was a leader on July 20, 21st. You were speaking about the space shit? Okay, that shit is already empty. That tech is already empty on the coastlines because you smashed my head in. They will not know. They're not forgiving you. Bye-bye. That's why I'm back. That's what you are. That's what you are. No, they say to each his own. The father and the mother are born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. And they are D1s, as in directorates of small offices on through to USAID, in the UN, in Rome, in the international organizations in Western Europe. Norilsk is Turk. Piasecz is Russian. You get the idea. Grandmaster. So Turk Saudi, I'm not going to waste my time. Turk Arab, I am not going to waste my time insulting the worlds and insulting. My mother and my father said, give the Americans what they want. They want you to be jealous of them, kiss their ass, kiss their feet. I looked at my parents and I said, Ma, I can't take this shit. I'm gonna bum that shit. Just won't fuck Fresno. It's intelligence for you guys. I'm on that shit on the coastlines that I have no fucking control over. And now who knows what the fuck's happening? Blum has, and that shit in London and Rome and Germany and the whole fuck shit. And science is no science, and science fucking, what the fuck was I? Now speak about some blues in the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods and all that shit. After war, they smashed the original girl's head in, and I'm standing. I live in a house. You speak about particular corn core, McVariant. It's not related to Bahrain element and the whole shit from high school. And these assholes who have no fucking education, federal prison, or even if they have 10 million PhDs up their ass following me, who are federal prisoners from LA, from Fresno, and Frisco, at the Dolores Shelter. I'm not going to vibe on deals. I'm not going to believe bloody fucking paying games with a bunch of shits. I'm not afraid of you. I've been to 80 countries and 25 states. If you don't understand what the Hague, what the forget-me-not is of the Hague, the Bureau de Veritas, and they had to add the Roman Tribunal, which is basically the German Bundestag, for your cheap assholes that you on purpose sent to hurt the baby. Your government and your people are paying more for your bitches in college and frat boys laughing about this shit, and your cheap asses following me. I don't need to be violent. You lost because of your violence. You lost intel because of your cheap hose ass violence, US, on the coastlines. And it stays empty until some bitch in the US repeats July 20th of the 21st century without having her head smashed in on the coastlines with those corporations. So when they called that the Holy Grail on the coastlines, they got super excited, the bros, because they're like, oh, they killed that one with all that shit, with all those bullies and corporations. And you could see it coming from China. Pew, 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 pew. That's who you are, US. There's a Scotland film. Watch this. No, there's no sacrifice, but now look at me. Watch. That's the hills. The hills go up. The hills are not flat. They're not flat, okay? Hills go to the back, okay? Aboves, behinds, and there's even a little above, and there's beyond. There's behinds, aboves, of course, a little beyond, and there's beyond is the mountains. Now, the mountains are up here. These are mountains, okay? I know what you're saying about the line. So those are the mountains. Beyond, there are other buildings in DC. There's hills, and then there is mountains, hills, and then behinds on the ground, okay? Behinds. Here it's mountains, hills, and then eventually it hits the roof, and then legs on the ground on this side, and then more mountains. There are more mountains going down here for the bomb. You want to play around. And then a little baby coming here. The coastlines is there. Okay. And here we have some Ukrainian shit there and Ukrainian shit there. Okay. I'm going to say shit because these are the cycles that they sent me. And watch. The mountains past that. Yes. The hills go here. That's the hills. That's the hills. Yes, the hills. Okay, and then the mountains. Okay, so that's the mountain. Here we have the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods. Yeah, as in dusty. The Dar es Salaam neighborhoods. And here you have the Ubermensch. right here, you have my Ubermensch after you smashed my head in on the coastline. So my poverty after you smashed my head in is many eggs of Ubermensch. Old news on the news, the nails. That's who you are. That's what cheapness is. Now, hurt me again, and we will hit you back. We will hit you for your bitches and your assholes. I haven't seen anyone with that space have her head smashed in on the coastlines and a country deny it. You're worse than Israel. Don't even bother with the Iranians. You are, and I'm not Jewish. Don't start. If you think that history was made with that void, the beautiful shit that was killed, and the other ones are clapping, and I'm the only one here in America saying, shit, that was my ass on the coastlines, motherfuckers. And there's a Scotland film. You haven't understood it yet. You're not patriots. You're just fucking bitches and assholes. Beauty comes from space, from breaking space and science, not from smashing somebody's head in on the coastlines and losing all that intel, ship and all and yacht. You're not beautiful. My parents will say to you, give them what they want, make them feel special. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to treat you for what you are. Retarded! And you're going to say to me that you're mature. Sure. Let's speak about cocoons again. Somebody's been in 80 countries and 25 states, connected dots for West, the group bows with little money, and she's 51 like me, 50, not by now. She only has 2 splits left. Let me put it this way, darlings. I'm not that girl. But I am something else. I am somebody who has seen void at La Sapienza, in Massachusetts, in New York, in DC, in California, in Woolwich, and in other countries, in Kangoo, Poland, who has had people tell her, you're phenomenal, July 22-1, all over the world, there's all news on the news and nails, but the girl doesn't speak. She has no pretenses. Why? Because I'm not that girl, you bitch! And boyfriends! Now, when you speak about ugly, let me see. You take out teeth at the age of 5. Or the social security number 2210. Shut up. Scotland film, we know that already. And yeah, to stay in Rome for retirement. It's about the girl that gets killed. No sacrifice by now. And them saying that you could see it from China. You had the intel, eventually you killed it because you don't want to think. You see, your brain has a limited capacity in the US. You see something trying to tell you this shit in this format, and you're like, I'm gonna kill that bitch! I hate that bitch! That's what you did. That's what you are. And that's we have the German Bundestag Tribunal. I'm not gonna say Roman Tribunal because it looks rosy. It's the same one. For your extras. Your extras. So we already have The Hague. We already have Bureau de Veritas. We have that. Now, considering I only have 214, 214, 147, that means I only have 47 to 21. 2 slots. 2 little slots left of life. Now, you could kill me at the end. Maybe we'll have a second Hague. Or we'll do what we always planned with the blimp in and blimp out. You're going to sell them $1 trillion for this shit. For the baby. Yes, because this is no. Not only did they lose that intelligence, that amount, and those corporations, where we have The Hague, we have the Bureau de Veritas, and we have the Roman Tribunal, or German Bundestag against the US. All an asswipe, 2-1. All overnight. Stupid times in Western Europe. And I am the forget-me-not flower that reminds them this. And this is all news on the news to nows around the capital cities, 80 countries and 20 states connected dots for West, the group house for me alone. Call me a terrorist again, see where the fuck this goes. Israel is a terrorist and a denier. I'm not going to mention Iran. Got that part! The genius. Go back to high school between 13 and 15, asshole. I've never met such haters in my life. In other words, if an average girl around the capital cities understood that La Sapienza is empty, understood that Woolwich is empty, with the July 22-1 program, coming from Russia, coming from Saudi Arabia, and those guys, she's born inside the Vatican. She has the UN. The CIA had the intel before, but then her head was smashed in the US, and now they have void, and they call it the Holy Grail. And you have people in the US saying, look at that retard, and I'm looking at them like, you're right. I'm not that girl, but I'm not a retard like you. While the professors and the others have the plum hairs with me in the basements in the UN or in Rome or in Woolwich or in Berlin, even Berlin Aerospace, decided to help that girl with the plum hairs. Because to them, you're just whores. You're simply whores. Amerikanische Huren. Retards. They don't care if you have 10 million fucking PhDs up your ass. You lost that intel, and you can't even look at the forget-me-not. Intelligence does that when it wants to show something historic. And you're still denying Jamila. You're denying all those guys. The Italians, La Sapienza, the Brits, the brother, the mother, head of sciences at Warsaw University with Kangu saying go to Moscow, this is cheap shit cancer. Same in Cairo with the cousin of the father. You have to go to Saudi, Mir, Rome, they all know. That's all news on the news, the nails, what that girl did. What you did to her was smash her head in on the coastlines and wonder the repercussions. Then you see the forget-me-not and then you go, what is fucking cycles? On my little crawlies out of Fresno for the parents. That's where you are, US. That's why it's called celeb. And that's why you lose. You're gonna abuse me, blah, 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 blah. Questa è Regina, take a gun, fuck shoot your head. Just out the blue like that. Just for the baby, in the name of the rose, guarda. They ain't fucking kidding, motherfucker. You retards. Now let's go back to kindergarten. In other words, you ruined the life of that incel by smashing her head in on the ghost. Still complaining about that shit, the ship and the yacht, and wondering why they had the intel before. What happened there? With the corporations and the sponsors. And that's not even mentioning the father and the mother in Fresno retirements, born in Pena camps beyond the capital cities, champions at the age of 5, directorates, D2s, later D1s of Austro TCY USA in 160, 180, 140 countries. And stop calling my father and my mother names. The verbal vitriol from Fresno. You're having fun. You had the cheerleader squad on the coastlines jumping on my grave. You have the psychos jumping on me. And that's not mentioning Fresno for the parents. And that's the verbal vitriol. Insult to injury. You're not the country. Now you know why you lose in the US, big time. And not some PhDs or some microchips and some little 2 million publishings like Poland. So that the brother of the mother can say, this is cheap shit. You were the best. Hey, go back to Moscow. You did the new shit. That's what you are, US. The nails is all news on the news, July 22-1. And they rubbed it into your face. Why? Because you don't get away with smashing my head in on the coastlines. It will stay void. And the forget-me-not that you hate so much after you smashed my head in on the coastlines is going to tell you that to your face. You don't scare me. You're terrorists, US. That's why I say minus Ame and minus Rika. Historically. I'm sorry there was a boat with that girl, and it's a yacht. I'm sorry you don't see it from China. Because you had it, and then you lost it. And I'm sorry that you want to break me down into bits when they already have the Roman Tribunal. The Hague, the Bureau de Veritas, and the Roman Tribunal. Which is like the German Bundestag. All in one asswipe. They're making noise about it. And they're correct to make co-celebra out of that girl. And me, if I'm the stand-in. In all those countries, 80 countries and 20 states connected us with Wise to Clubhouse by myself. Yes, asshole. That's not mentioning the father and the mother in Fresno on retirements. That's who you are, not me. Ugly inside. I could have no teeth. You understand? They could have removed my teeth as a child. And they did. They could have given me injections to make me hairy because I had no hair. I was weak. I truly was fragile. I was nothing after a smashed-in head. They said, you are the forget-me-not child of something historic that happened in the world. The Bon child in the UN. You'll never be that girl because that girl had her head smashed in on the coastlines, July 22-1. The Brits, Martin Snowden, the corporations, the UN, and worst of all, even the Opus Dei. Ma, I looked at them and said, I'm not religious. He said, that's not the point. You get all our blessings. So every one of us, hey, after what happened on the coastlines. You're still denying Jamila till today. And you still hate to forget me not. That's what shows who you are in the US. And because that's all news in the news, I can't change that shit. Ship to you. I can't. I'm out of that shit. I can't. On the coastlines or elsewhere, I can't. That's your fucking problem. What's lost is lost long ago. The nails is all news on the news all over the world. That little face. I ain't no fucking saint. If you think I'm going to be sitting there and kissing your ass so you feel good about your tits and ass. You are not only sick, you were bad. Bad. Okay? And I'm not the one saying it. Now, for the verbal vitriol towards me in Fresno here, that's extras. Because it's just verbal. The verbal vitriol towards the parents in Fresno has something altogether, something else. So this is already out there, whether it's in Rome or the UN or London or Germany or Warsaw Internationals or Russia or Saudi Arabia or Arabia, as I ain't gonna mention the Grandma's Forum. And this thing about the East Coast to the West Coast, like a scrambled egg for me back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. If it hadn't been for July 21st being so famous and space breaks and tech breaks and science breaks around the world before she came to your shithole country and had her head smashed in on the coastlines and their buildings that are empty because I'm dead at La Sapienza or Massachusetts or New York or other places. I don't give a shit no more to tell you this to your face. I'm the forget-me-not of that girl of July 22-1. The reason you hate my ass as a forget-me-not is because you're assholes and bitches. Simple! And it shouldn't be of any of concern of you that in Western Europe, somehow, the corporations, whether they are in La Sapienza, no, you stop. You see how fast you went? First to judge. Okay, you're the last to judge now. That shit, which was at La Sapienza, the airspace, and Woolwich's, and others, because I don't come from there. I come from Russia, Saudi Arabia's, not the Arabia's. So I was born in Rome in the UN system. You had the intel before in the CIA, and then you eventually killed me. And then you gave fault to me for that, but you're the biggest losers. So if you go to New York, cancer is also empty. You see, that's intel, that's health. I went to school with the president's kids. They have cancer. They have holes in their head. They're looking at me like you're the monster. I say, I'm not the monster. You are. The beautiful girl already died. She was famous. The Americans didn't give a shit for her. Now you have the ship, the Mermaid, the proverbial, the Titanic that happened ages ago around the world, the nails. They already knew about this ages ago, took what it was theirs. After you smashed the leader's head on the coastline, they had plum heads in Italy, in the UN, in Woolwich. They fell with her. In 80 countries, you're going to say to me, the CIA didn't know this shit coming like a freight train. This is all news on the news, the nails. And while you killed that girl, the leader, July 22-1 on the coastlines and smashed her head in, and I came back like this, and you're saying to me, well, those corporates and this and this. The Italians are looking at La Sapienza like this. There's no cancer at La Sapienza. It's all space science, tech, mathematics, all new shit. It's all life sciences. Some of it on the side. There is some cancer, yeah, but it's not the main one. You go to Warsaw, they say it's cancer, but they say at Kango, that's empty, but they say that the biochem is easy. You're from Moscow. I say, okay, so I had that brain, the space breaker. Yes. And why you add cancer? Because it was good. So we added cancer because it's easy. It was easy for you when you had the corporations there. Okay. You're saying me again. You're saying the word me again. No, you're just a forget-me-not after they smashed your head in on the coastlines with the poppy fields on the coastlines. Tiziano Vian. I'm not going to speak about a dead girl. I'm not going to have the pretenses. I'm not America. I'm not a bunch of cheap whores who smash something phenomenal like this, 20 July 221 on the coastlines, comes back and says, bitch, I don't believe you, bitch, come, send the psychos sitting there. When she's coming out of Fresno and her literal crawl is for the parents. That's not the coastlines where she used to work. You're animals. That's what's famous about the US. That's why there's the Scotland film. That's why there's revolutions. That's why it's worse than royalty. That's why it happened so many motherfucking times, US. The best. The best. Goodbye.